This is To All the Men I've Tolerated Before with Natalie Katona, the show where my guests and I chat about how society and our culture tricked us into some certain situations and into trusting men against our better judgment. Today, I'm getting honest with Julia Washington from Pop Culture Makes Me Jealous about how I have such an attraction to musicians. It's your job to steer me in the right direction.
I'm going to do my best. I don't know.
Because you've actually dated musicians.
Yeah, I sat down to make a list and I only could remember 6, but I know there's more than that. There's just the 6 that I remember.
Well, 6 is 6 more than I've dated because I just stand in front of the stage mouth breathing like I'm Helga on Hey Arnold. No, her name was Olga. Whatever the hell her name was.
Yeah.
Like on Hey Arnold, just like and then they get off stage and the lights come on and you're like, oh, he's really sweaty and pasty. That was all lighting.
It's hot up there. It gets so hot on stage with all the equipment and the light. And I mean, lighting nowadays is nice because they do the LED lights, so you don't have to, you don't get as hot. But you know, stage lighting is like brutal.
Yeah. I saved a picture of a musician because it came up on my like time hop. And I'll post it on social media, but I saved it to you. Bam. Oh, wait. Fucking Zoom. I'm going to send it to you on Instagram.
Okay. Zoom only wants, Zoom's only friendly sometimes. It's fine.
I'm going to send it to you. This is a man that I stared at 4 hours when I have to be 13, maybe 12 in this photo. I have boobs, which is an indicator of how old I am because I've had boobs since I was in the 3rd grade.
Yeah, same.
But he was like
was he in some sort of like emo punk band?
He was. And I went and saw that.
Can tell.
Yeah. I went and saw that concert in a church basement or attic.
Yeah, we had this church over way out in BFE that would always host bands and like alternative music people, and it's like, I think this is a ploy to convert us, but we're all smoking behind the fucking chapel. And somebody smuggled in a flask. We're fine.
I remember going with a very alternative friend, and I was like, "You know God?" And she's like, "Not really, but we're gonna go to the show."
He's just hosting tonight. He's just hosting the show. It's fine.
Yeah. So I love concert venues who look like they should have no right to be concert venues. Yeah. I bought tickets to a concert venue in Cincy last night to Feel a Thing to go see Elle King. And I told my sister because I'm going to mess up their name. It's the Motion City soundtrack. They're coming to this concert venue. And I was like, do you want to go relive our mediocre childhood? And she's like,
maybe?
Yeah, that's exactly what she said. She was like, maybe, but she's going to be in Canada. And I was like, Bogarts is fantastic because it literally looks like the gymnasium of every school dance I've been to.
Nice.
So you're just watching a stage and you're like, I'm in the 10th grade.
Oh my gosh, that's the best. That's the best. We have 2 close cities for big venues. San Francisco, obviously, and then Sacramento, because I'm based in California. Man, I actually can't share some of the stories of things that happened in San Francisco, but it was a lot of fun.
That's fine. We won't incriminate you on this podcast.
Yeah.
You can text me those later.
Yes.
So musicians.
Yeah. They're real cute.
Yes, that's where we're going with my first question.
Some of them, yeah.
Let's chat about what attracts us to them in any instant of our lives.
I think it's the like a combination of like the brooding, artistic, mysterious, and then they can sing a song about you, like, or to you, like the serenading is so lovely.
And I'm self-centered.
Have you ever, I'm sure that please don't take this the wrong way, but if the answer is no, I understand. But like waking up on a Saturday morning to somebody like playing the acoustic guitar and like playing a song that you love, like that's a beautiful thing. I actually kind of miss that.
It sounds beautiful. It sounds like it belongs in a movie. No, my exes weren't
It's straight
talented.
rom-com. This is why I have a problem with this is why I'm obsessed with rom-coms, because I've had rom-com moments. So that's why I'm convinced I can have them forever.
No, my exes weren't talented. They weren't talented people. I'm sorry. Did you ever? I asked an ex of mine to I told him my stripper anthem was Pour Some Sugar on Me from Def Leppard. And I told him I would do my stripper routine for him. It changes every time, but it's a banger. and but I told him, I was like, but you have to figure out your stripper anthem, and then you have to do yours. You have to have your stripper moment. And he planned it like he was going to do it. And then we broke up and I never got to see it.
That's a bummer. I'm so curious what his song choice was.
I can't even remember. And I blocked him from every way he could ever get a hold of me. So we're not going to know.
It's not going to be a thing we can find out. I'm really disappointed.
I know. If he's listening.
Yeah. Tell us your anthem, son.
Right. Reach out to Julia. Don't reach out to me. You know who you are.
I'm very easy to find on the internet, actually. So yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to plug her stuff in the social media. So you reach out to her. Don't you fucking reach out to me.
Yeah.
Because you know what you did.
Heard that.
I think for me, because I did an episode of my friend JD's podcast about 80s hair metal bands. And I think for me, my musician, despite the greasy punk guy that I sent you, it's all about the bravado. Like they come out and there's a fucking smoke machine and their hair has more body than mine ever will. And they've perfected wingtip eyeliner, another feat I'll never do. And they just command the room.
Yeah.
And as someone who commands the room as a comedian, to like have command, like, bitch, I see you. And then you feel like this instant connection because you're both talented people. And I will just ignore the fact that you could be a shitty person underneath all the glam.
Yeah, because it's really hard to get to that point, right? Like you don't know that they're kind of shitty right away.
Right.
Like one was very well, they're all charismatic. All of them are charismatic, if I'm gonna be honest. But one definitely was like, oh, you're sweet. Like, how are you running in the music industry? Because you're so sweet. Like you're the boy next door sweet. Like someone's gonna hurt you real bad.
Real bad.
You're not the hurter. You're the one who gets hurt. And then other ones have just been very much like, I'm so charismatic and I find you so interesting. And aren't you so beautiful? And aren't we beautiful too? And then they make you think that like, you're the only one, but that's the job. That's part of the job because they have to like make love with the audience. So, you know, then you're just kind of like, wait. After a while, you're just like, wait. I'm confused. Did you like... Huh?
Am I beautiful or is the audience beautiful?
Like, yeah, like you're not supposed to, like, why were you talking? Like, I actually was never a crazy ex-girlfriend or a crazy girlfriend. Like, I don't give a shit because I'm also a performer. So I understand that whole like fandom after a performance. But, you know, it was like, well, I can't go to one of your shows. And then suddenly you're like home 2 days later. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, I know where you performed. I know which bands you played with. Like, why? This doesn't compute. Something's up. Yeah. But I think they have in gross generalization, I think they have ultimate ADHD. And as long as you're shiny and keep their attention, you're good.
Yeah. And I believe that that's also my problem because I believe that I have an undiagnosed brain. Yeah. And I'm leaning towards ADHD, but no one will believe me. So... No one will believe me. So I'll just sit here.
Yeah.
Eating cookie dough because you need sugar to function. And, but I think that's what it is too. I think because they're the spectacle of the evening, I'm always like, but I'm the spectacle of the evening. So I should approach them and we should be the spectacle together.
No, you can't shine brighter because if you have an insecure musician, if you shine brighter, that's it. It's over.
Yes. I have made many a men insecure in one date or after dating for a year and a half. And they just don't want to share their stage. So I do
No.
at least carry that over with my love of musicians. I just date untalented guys
Yeah, because
who
you know
have the
what?
attitude.
It really hurts. It really fucking hurts when like you're the girlfriend and you have this relationship and they sort of freeze you out of their music life. And then like their next girlfriend, they let them in. And you're just like, fuck you. What was it about her? What is it about her?
I could have played the tambourine. I
Yeah.
practiced the tambourine for you.
Yeah. Like, and I'm an actual creative person. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what does she even do?
What does she even do?
She does nothing. She does nothing.
And I think that's always it for me because I meet such great and open creators like yourself. So I always assume, oh, creators want to meet other creators. This is what we're doing. We're vibing. You can feel my
Mm-hmm.
energy. I can feel your energy. No, because it becomes like a pissing match.
It can,
Like
yeah.
on, well, who's really going to get the attention of this room? And sometimes because I'm a competitive asshole, I'm all for it. Like, ooh,
Yeah.
all right, is this what we're doing today at Cinco de Mayo? We're going to
Yeah.
figure out who's going to fucking get the most attention. And I'm keeping score in my head. And I know
Yeah.
you're keeping score in your head. And we're texting one another back and forth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, see, like for me, the other hurdle was like, okay, like pre grad school, I was
Mm-hmm.
very fit. I was very like, I'm just going to say it because I've said it on my podcast a lot. I was chronically the prettiest person in the room. So then you have like, okay, so then you have like, okay, so I'm dating one of the guitarists. Okay. We're at a show in San Francisco. Pool's bigger. Okay, so you're doing your thing on stage and now I'm getting hit on and now you're pissed. Like
Yeah.
what are we doing? Like which one of us is okay? I need you to make up your mind. Are we together or are you just going to be like you're my shiny thing? Sometimes like make a fucking decision.
You're
Make
the
a fucking decision.
you're the chick on my arm for the
Mm-hmm.
show, but don't
Yeah.
look at anyone else.
And it's not my fault. It's not my fault from the drummer of the other band decided to come up and ask if I want to dance. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what you're supposed to do. Like that is a thing. Come
Don't
on.
do not deny me the dance. What the
Right.
fuck am I here for if not to dance?
Mm-hmm. I mean,
I
yeah, sure, I'm listening to music, but also like a lot of hot dudes. I'm a hot chick. Like, what do you think is supposed to happen?
What do you think is supposed to happen? Um, yeah. And I'm always down for the vibe and the energy of the moment. I love concerts. I went to go see the last concert I saw was Walk the Moon. My sister made fun of me because I only know that white basic bitch song, Shut Up and Dance with Me.
Yeah.
And it's because that's how I want to fall in love. I want to be dancing and I want some guy to just be trying to learn my life story and my soul. And I just want to look him in the eye and be like, shut up and dance with me.
And he's like, yes, okay.
Yes. And then we're
I
soulmates.
got you.
I got you.
I've had that moment, not with a musician, but we went and saw this band in San Francisco at Slim's, which is a really great venue. I don't know if they're still open, but that's not the point. And like there's a ska band playing because I'm an equal opportunist with music. I won't go see country, but whatever. And he just walks up and he's like, hey. I'm like, hey. He's like, you want to dance? I'm like, yeah. And it was super awesome. And then, it turns out that he knew my friend and my friend was like, please stay away from that guy. That's not a person that you want to be around. But it actually worked out well because one of the guys from one of the bands that performed that night and I had a moment outside. And when I say moment, I mean, we were flirting and exchanged phone numbers. And then like he offered to give me a ride home on his motorcycle, but I was in a car full of people that I couldn't ditch. Yeah. Yes, I do think about all the time. What would have happened if I'd gotten on that motorcycle?
So we can dream.
Because he was hot.
I'm sure he was.
Nice and tall, just the right kind. He was like muscular, but not like bulky. He was like very svelte. And it was just like, yeah, you're really cute. I love that you think that I'm pretty. Like, we could have had cute kids.
Yeah. And then like, so I'm at Walk the Moon. I haven't been to a concert since before the pandemic. And the music starts and my whole body transforms. It's like a werewolf transition. And I danced so hard for those first 3 or 4 songs before they took a moment to just like talk to the crowd.
Yeah. Yeah.
I swear that when my body stopped moving, I was tingling almost like I had just had multiple orgasms with my favorite vibrator. And I went, oh my God, I've missed this, because you just
Yeah.
get, it's like everyone has this collective energy, everyone's
Yeah.
vibing, everyone's dancing. I did make a friend. Shout out to him if he somehow found this. I've got like this guy and I turned towards one another because his friends weren't dancing and my friend wasn't dancing. And I was like jumping up and down to shut up and dance with me. And we turned and just started jumping in sync.
So you kind of had a moment.
Yeah.
I love that.
I don't believe that I was his cup of tea.
Well,
If I had to make a assumption based on the cues I was reading.
Yeah.
But, you know, and that's how I feel at every concert. I also convince myself at every turn of the point that the musicians are singing only to me. Like sometimes I just forget that everyone else is there and I'm like, oh.
That's a real thing. And that's almost kind of intentional, especially when you're at some of the smaller venues. So I just went to this huge show a couple of months ago in Sacramento. It was a 4-day festival. Not really, you can't really achieve the same thing in that type of venue because it's outdoors and there was like literally 20,000 people there. But the smaller venues, like when we've gone to other smaller locations and it's more intimate, so easy to achieve that whole moment of like,
Yes.
I think that's part of the problem sometimes too. When like women think that like the lead guy was into him. No, honey, he was like just working the crowd. He wants you to buy 4 CDs and a couple of t-shirts because that's how they make their money.
I'm very much that person. I'm like, it's me. They're in love with me. I'm sure it'll happen at Elle King when she's singing. I'm gonna be like, me. She's in love with me. And I'm ready.
Yeah, why not? Who wouldn't want Rob Schneider to be their in-law?
Oh my gosh. Someone texted me that yesterday. They were like, oh no, it was Macy from the Witch Bitch Amateur Hour. She was like, do you know that that's Rob Schneider's kid? And I was like, I believe that, I knew that, but I believe that it's also one of those facts that I saw on Google and went, huh, that's a thing. And then I immediately dumped it out of my brain.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know if they have a positive relationship either. So it's like, you know, you might not see him. Is he Jewish? So you might not see him at Hanukkah.
I mean, damn, I don't know.
Yeah, but life's hard.
I also
wait. How do you want me to say? Life's hard.
Life is hard. You need to do ASMR. You and I are going to start an ASMR company.
Yes.
I'll run the pens that we're just juggling, and you can say the things.
Yeah, I'll say the things.
I also blame this on the fact that it is known you're the prettiest girl in the room. I am often called the most magnetic girl in the room. Like people want to
they just are just yes. Yeah.
So from an early age, I would get pulled out by performers. It happened at Disney World of all places.
You had like a Courtney Cox moment?
I did.
Yeah.
We're at Disney World at like Magic Kingdom. And were
you at Magic Kingdom?
I was at Magic Kingdom. And I believe it wasn't the time that I was there in the 4th grade. It must have been the time that I was there as a sophomore in high school.
Yes.
And one of the street band was playing Are You Gonna Be My Girl?
And obviously the answer is yes.
Yes. And every time the main singer, who was not cute, he was like this like dad bod, like goofy. I think they were dressed as like doo-wop people. But every time he'd hit that guitar part, he'd saunter over to me and then be like, but are you gonna be my girl? And then like my whole body would just start to like wobble over there. And like my mom or my dad would grab me like, nope, this isn't where we're gonna lose you.
Right.
To the doo-wop musicians at Magic Kingdom.
I just remembered a 7th one as you were talking. By name.
Was it the doo-wop guy at Disney World?
Yes, we had a close, meaningful relationship. No, it wasn't. But it's just funny how you talking about that triggered like, oh, there's another one. Write his name down.
And Seriously, my mom let me watch the Rockstar movie with Mark Wahlberg too
Oh,
young
Marky Mark.
because she loved it and neither one of us sleep. So she would be watching it late at night and I just like saunter down and be like, I'm not asleep either. Let's watch that group orgy scene together,
Yeah.
mom.
Not awkward. It's
And
fine.
right. And like just watch Jennifer Aniston like wake up and regret all of her choices. I think I
Mm-hmm.
remember my mom trying to teach me some sort of lesson during that. Like, do you see her face?
You know, I have to be honest. I don't think I regret
See?
any of them.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. I mean, not as a whole. Like I learned something from every one of those relationships. Because there's a difference, right, between regretting having that relationship and then like regretting certain things about that relationship. Do I regret certain things about those relationships? Sure. But the overall, I learned a lot about myself in those situations and red flags that I still as I'm looking down the list and the chronology of it all, I'm like, I should have known better by number 4. I should have known better.
And I think the tragedy of my childhood and growing up in the Midwest is that I did not know that I was cool and magnetic until I was in my upper 20s. And then at that point, it was like I still wasn't just like, I was like, I'm not going to start sleeping around with musicians now.
Yeah, you have to start doing it when you're young, and then
Right.
some people just never grow out of it.
Exactly. You can't just like start. I mean, maybe I will. Maybe
You could.
33 years old, I'll be
Yeah.
the chick just that's like, I'm
Yeah.
ready now.
The
I'm
world
ready.
is so different now. Who cares, right?
I mean, Jesse McCartney is coming to Cincinnati. You better watch out.
There you go.
I
There
have
you
a
go.
pretty face and a beautiful soul.
There you go. He's
So,
not gonna be able to say no.
but tell me some of the hallmarks of these relationships.
Mm.
Tell me some of the highlights.
Well, I had somebody write a song about me.
Yes. Is it a
That was
song that I
amazing.
can look up on Spotify?
I don't know. That's a great question because that band that he was in is no longer together. And I actually don't think his bandmates know
Ooh,
that that song is about me.
well,
I'm actually, oh, they're not in, well, maybe I'm spelling it wrong. I'll have to look. If I find it, I'll send it to you.
okay.
Um, and so that was lovely. Um,
Did it have beautiful imagery in it?
can I be honest? He's
Yes.
a terrible musician.
Fuck. You hate
So,
to see it.
mhm.
Like,
Like, why couldn't I have like a moment like Chris Martin when he wrote that song for Gwyneth after her dad died that everyone loves? What is it called?
I don't know.
I forget what it's called. But like I wanted that, you know.
I
No, I got and it was it's first of all, it's really hard dating somebody that you really, really like who makes terrible music.
oh yeah.
And I actually thought that person was my soulmate. I don't believe in soulmates. So the fact that I was like, oh, I think he's my soulmate, my friends were like, huh? What? This is
You
weird.
don't do that.
Yeah. Um, and then, but he was, oh, they're always like, generally, all of them were very romantic, very sweet. I think the highlight though was somebody writing a song about me. When we were talking online in the DMs, and I was telling you about how like my story is totally like the John and June Carter Cash situation, except that I was Johnny Cash's first wife. So, and that was like not my first musician, but
We love you,
he was
Jennifer
number,
Goodwin.
yes, we do. We do. We support you. But he was number 3. So
Mhm.
I feel like I should have known better by that point. Um, but would I have liked to have been someone's June Carter? Yeah,
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
have. I would have.
Because they're going down in the history books as just like, oh, that's what love should have looked like. It
Yeah.
isn't. If you do
Yeah,
a deep dive, it's
yeah,
not.
because he was terrible to Vivian. He like made all these promises that he couldn't keep. He basically was like, June saved my life from drunkenhood. And we're like, yeah, let's talk about how you're a raging alcoholic and you probably should have gotten help. And, you know, when the movie came out, we were still together at the time. And I went and saw it and I was like, oh, fuck. Who's the other woman? This is my life. Like all of these things that he was doing to Vivian, I was like, yeah, I'm Vivian. Who the fuck is this other woman? Later it turns out I found out who the other woman is, and I'm not a fan. But it doesn't matter because that relationship came.
All right. So I would love for a song to be written about me. I'm just gonna say it. When I think about the song that I wish the most was written about me, it's that silly song from A Star Is Born, where like Bradley Cooper is just drunkenly crooning your music to my eyes.
Oh,
which doesn't make sense.
It doesn't, no, but I have dated a drunken musician before. And listen, when A Star Is Born came out and the fourth version of A Star Is Born came out, I watched it. I bawled in the movie theater because I was like, I know what that's like dating that guy. He, you know, he didn't have the same end as Bradley Cooper because he's still with us, but it was just like, is somebody like following me around? I mean, obviously I wasn't Gaga because I'm not a famous pop star, but you know, the struggling with his life and channeling it through the music and being too drunk to function, like, oh my God.
I would have asked for royalties. I would have emailed Bradley Cooper. The thing about that movie fucked me up just like for days afterwards, because the thing about the tragic musician is I'm always the saddest when the talent and the music couldn't save them.
Right.
Just like across the board.
Oh yeah.
Any of them.
Yeah. Cause that's kind of what we're told. That's the bullshit we're fed, that this will save you. And that's just not true. And I think, so I have this really good friend who hated that movie. Yeah. She's like, that movie was terrible, blah, blah, all this stuff. And I was like, you've never been in love with a musician, have you? And she's like, no. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Cause that was like the aches and pains that Gaga felt like, ooh.
Oh, and
I know that story.
Well, and then my sister, the day after I saw Star Is Born, just doubled down on my grief. And she went, you know, that was Bradley Cooper's dog that they used in the movie. So then I was like, Bradley Cooper made his dog watch him act out unaliving himself in the garage. And then I'm crying for the dog. And she's like, I don't think the dog was there for that scene.
Sorry, I was yelling at my dog. Speaking of dogs.
Okay. I love dogs. They can do no wrong. But it's always when the talent can't save them, or when I have a really big problem with hero worshiping musicians because I love music. And I feel that a lot of my power comes from music. Yeah. And so when they're bad people, or when they are a person who has made a mistake, I have to go through a grieving period. Yeah. Any of them. Elvis. My sister and I love nothing more than to watch that Dennis Quaid movie, Great Balls of Fire, where he's playing Jerry Lee Lewis. And he's hitting Winona Ryder.
13-year-old cousin.
Yeah. And he's just hitting her all the time and screaming at her. And he builds her a house that looks like her dollhouse.
He was not right. No. In the mind. He needed help.
But when I stood outside the Killer's bar in Memphis, chills came over my body. And I could just hear the beginning of Great Balls of Fire. And I was like, I have to walk away. You're a bad man.
Yes, it's so hard, right? Like, it's so hard. It's like, how do you separate the art from the artist? That's still an age-old question.
It's an age-old question. I don't know what I am allowed to do. Whitney Cummings has a wonderful rule that I'm going to steal. And I tell her this every time I listen to a song by an inappropriate musician. She says, if the song came out before the allegations, we get to live in the memory, but we do not download anything new.
I can get behind that. I can get behind that. There's I can throw my support behind that. I will say, out of all now 7 that I've remembered off the top of my head who have names, because there's more.
Yeah.
3 of them were like actual bad
Were
people.
they bad people?
Mhm,
Was it
mhm.
addiction stuff? Was it narcissism? Was it
A combination of both.
yeah.
And one of them actually has like physical limitations now. His addiction was so bad. And I'm not that old, and he's
Yeah.
only a couple years older than me. And I think it was like maybe 8 or 9 years ago I saw him walking with they're like crutches, but you put your hands in
Yeah.
them to walk. He was
Mm-hmm.
walking with those, and I thought, oh my God, that's not good. And then I
Addiction.
proceeded to pretend like,
You
yeah, I was like, how can I not be noticed?
addiction is a
Which
tricky,
is terrible.
which is it's fine. We don't I dove underneath things in Target to avoid people and then called my mom to be like, I'm doing that thing that we
Mhm.
make fun of other people for doing.
Yeah, because you don't want to get like, I don't want to get sucked into a conversation.
No.
Like if I'm doing really well in life and you're not, I don't
Mm-hmm.
really want to brag about that. I mean, I
Yeah.
do, but not really. And then vice versa. Like if I'm doing really shitty, I don't want you to be like, whew, dodged a bullet,
Yeah.
like you're not allowed to think that about me.
I also like I am a person who will just like seep in the memory or
Mm-hmm.
in the what ifs. Like I was listening to your Loki episode because
Mm-hmm.
I'm obsessed with the variants now. And that's why addiction gets so tricky for me because I'm like, well, what if you were the person without it?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, because then you get into that point of like, well,
mm-hmm.
I can save you. Like, right. Because
Yeah.
like with back to the Johnny Cash story, right? Like June Carter essentially saved him from himself, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's idolized, it's immortalized in the movie, it's part of
Mm-hmm.
their narrative, it's part of their story. But really, that's not always what happens. Like, look at how many people who are musicians who have addiction issues whose spouses do leave because they
Yeah.
just can't. If you can't, you got to get your shit together. Like you
Well,
have to be willing to get better. And he was unwilling to get better. Actually, he was unwilling to see that he had a problem. That was the first problem.
and now I am trying to rewrite my own narrative about things like that, where it's like I can empathize and I
Mm-hmm.
can walk away from you in love, but it doesn't have to be my business. Like that can be
Yeah.
none of my business. And
Yeah.
I can remove myself from it and do it without making myself feel guilty or small or like
Yeah.
I'm abandoning people.
Yeah.
But addiction in the music industry, it really bums me out because I'm like, well, what if you didn't need it? And would the
Mm-hmm.
music still be good?
See, and that's the hard thing, right? Like my
Mm-hmm.
friend and I were talking about, because I was like, oh, I think my ADD is getting really bad. Like, I wonder if I should go get medicated. And she was like, yeah, like I support you, blah, blah. And I was like, no, but what if the medication fucks with my creativity? Like, that's a
Mm-hmm.
thing. Like, I'm scared. And she's like, you need to be doing what's best for you. So, like, that's a real thing,
Yeah.
right? Like, there are people who believe that they can't write unless they're drunk, or they
Mm-hmm.
can't create unless they're inebriated in some way, shape, or form, because they haven't done it sober in so long.
Yeah.
And that's really sad too, because we have a society and a culture that totally celebrates partying and having a good time. And
Mm-hmm.
it's so prevalent in the music industry. Like when one of my exes was like, I'm going to quit drinking, I have an addiction problem. Just, oh shit. Yeah, you do. It's also in your family. Like we know. And then it just was hard. He had to stop playing music. He couldn't be involved. Like he had to completely remove himself. He didn't have the strength to be sober and in the music industry. He does
Same.
now, which is great. But like at the time he didn't.
It's so hard. And addiction is a thing that runs in in my family bloodline, if you want to
Mm-hmm.
talk about scientifically. So like just knowing that and like knowing that like addiction and I was editing my comprehensive consent episode today, and we were talking about how we live in such this binary world where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
this is bad
Yeah.
and this is good. And it's like, well, no, everything just kind of mingle. It's all just choices, and it's all like, no one's honestly
Right.
keeping score. Sometimes
Right.
I keep score, but no one's honestly doing
I keep
it.
score if I'm mad.
Right. I keep score if I'm petty.
If we're having words, I'm keeping score.
So jealousy.
Mm-hmm.
You said that you weren't a very jealous girlfriend while you were dating musicians.
Well, now that we're talking about it a little bit deeper, there is one or two where I was just like, but I think that came out of insecurity of our relationship. And because I'm not naturally a jealous person, even though my podcast has jealous in the name.
Well, no, I get that, because the only time I checked a guy's phone is because I was already irritated at him. Like,
yeah, see, and
I just
would
wanted
never.
a reason to throw the phone at him.
Yeah, I would never do that. I now if social media had existed in the time that I was dating musicians, I would have been more jealous, because then you can see what people are tagging and stuff. But
like,
that wasn't a thing back then. So
I've only checked a guy's phone once.
Makes me sound old.
I've only checked a guy's phone once, and it was either in my junior or senior year of college. So I was young and stupid and drunk. And I had woken up to throw up like the classy bitch that I am. and he was pissed the entire time. He had like already graduated college, and like he didn't really enjoy hanging out with me at college, because I think it like reminded him that his glory days were behind him. Are over. So he was already pissed that he came to like some stupid formal dance with me at my college. And I could just like get this vibe where I was like, I'm going to call this motherfucker on being pissed that he's here, but not telling me that he's pissed that he's here. And I was vindicated, because I checked that motherfucking phone and he was talking shit about me to another woman.
No, not cool. To a friend, like to a friend of the same sex, please. Don't complain about me to another woman. Complain about me to,
your roommate, fine. Your female coworker that you get to see more than me,
not okay.
Now I'm throwing the phone at you. And then like now he's screaming because I violated his trust, and I'm screaming because I was like, well, you were lying to me the whole day, so you fucking violated my trust.
Yeah.
And God, that was a great relationship. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah,
it was great. For tolerators, if you're trying to keep up on the timeline, that was the man that I gave my virginity to.
Oh.
And I think we fucked before I threw up, and then decided I needed to check his phone.
Oh my God. Even better. It's an opening to a sitcom right there.
It truly. Next season on How I Met Your Father. Hillary Duff, you can call me. But yeah, I do believe that jealousy is one of those feelings that really only breeds out of, I know that this is ending, or I know that there are things within this relationship that I'm not mature to communicate with.
We're not on stable ground, so we're doomed from the beginning.
But I can't imagine that it's easy dating people whose entire jobs revolve around making a room of people fall in love with them.
It's not. Actually, I have the classic tale of my best friend at the time getting involved with an ex, and the ex and I had gone like back and forth. So it was just like really hurtful, because she had been there through all of the things that we had gone through emotionally. So it was just like, cool. So out of all the people in the world that you could have fallen in love with, you picked my best friend. That's great. That feels good. And kind of like shit.
Wonderful. My exes love to get married as soon as I'm done with them.
Oh my gosh. Let's see. I'm going to count how many are married. 1, 2, 3, 4 out of the 7 are married.
Okay.
And one of them is the one who wrote the song about me. So I wonder if his wife knows about that.
Yikes, that's always tricky.
And I bet she'd be real insecure if she saw photos of us at the time, because I looked real good in a bikini.
See, I bet
and he lived in a beach town, so we hit that beach a lot.
I immediately leaned into being gross and be like, I'd still look at you in a bikini, but like, is that what we're doing in 2022? Is that what we're doing? Like, I immediately went in for it too. Like,
You have to understand, like, I thought this guy was my soulmate.
uh-huh.
I went and visited him one time and we had this wonderful weekend and we walked down this pier, and because we were in Southern California at the time, and I'm like, we're just sitting on the pier watching the sunset and like we're just having this really great moment. And all I did was laugh. And then we're like, okay, it's time to go to our dinner reservation. He's like, hold on, I need a second. What do you mean? He had a bone from my laugh. Like, that's so cute. Right? Like that's like ultimate attraction to me, right? Like something that I can't control, the way that I laugh, totally turn you on.
No, I love when I give you boners for stupid reasons.
Yeah.
I have an ex. He used to be away during our relationship because he served in the National Guard, and he would text me, I need to call you because if I could just hear your voice, I could finish. And I'm like, but
that is what we call a win, ladies and gentlemen.
win. A win. He recently told me that he started listening to this podcast. So I can't wait for him to arrive to this moment. You're welcome, buddy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do love it when nothing about me being naked or anything becomes your hard on.
Yeah, it's really great, right? Like, like I literally can't control the way that I laugh. Like that is not a thing that's like a God-given, if you believe in God, that is like a thing that is out of my control. And that like, so to me, I'm just like, why did you have to marry that chick? She's like a fucking QAnon shit. Like I can't hang.
You had to marry the QAnon chick, and my voice is the thing that can make you hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I'm not going to make that joke because sometimes he listens, but I'll text you. What do you think it is about musicians where, as a society, we are, or I guess celebrities in general, we're so ready to put them on the pedestal?
I think it's because they tap into something in us. They evoke a different kind of emotion and feelings than you get sometimes out of just having a conversation with somebody. Yeah. There's something beautiful about the type of art that music is, because it allows you the space and creativity to really get raw. And now you've created something that makes me feel something very deep and vulnerable and raw. So now we have a moment, but you, celebrity or musician on stage, don't know that we're having the moment because you're not in my head. So now, like, when I meet you, I'm going to fangirl and lose my shit because you gave me all of these moments.
You just talking about the way that I feel when one of my like songs, my heart songs comes on, made the entire lower half of my body start to tingle. Like it's that like, oh yeah, we're doing this. And I think that's what it is for me too. I've learned that a lot as I've started this podcast and have started networking with other creatives. I was always a creative person watching other creative people, not taking part in my own creativity. But now that I'm one of us, the fact that you just have more of a deeper connection with these people because you're like, I see what you're doing there. I appreciate and love what you're doing there. And I also know all of the directions it could have gone. Like it's just this whole mutual energy. And I love being in a crowd of people and watching them become hypnotic over a song.
There's something powerful about the collective experience that music brings us. Theater does that, dance does that, you know, movies can do that too. You know, television used to be able to do that, but not really anymore because we're not all watching TV on the same timeline anymore. But like, there's something very powerful about being in a room with somebody, with multiple people, and having that sort of deep connection. And, you know, music has kind of can save us in a way. And
Mhm.
think about how emotional we get when celebrities die, because they impacted our life. They
Yes.
impacted us in ways that we never would have had if it weren't for that art they contributed to. And it's harder on a smaller scale because then,
Mhm.
like the guys I dated were way more accessible than, like, say, Chris Martin from what's it's called?
Oh my
Whatever
gosh,
his
I don't
band is
even know
called.
what that band is anymore.
Coldplay. There it is.
Coldplay.
Or like I went and saw Rancid a couple months ago.
Mhm.
Like, I loved Rancid all through the 90s and early 2000s. Like, that is the anthem of my high school years. And then we actually got to hang out with one of the guys from Rancid is in a band called The Transplants, which is like a band that includes Travis Barker from Blink-182. And we used to party with Lars is the guy's name. And we used to go to parties where he was and all this stuff. Like, when I saw Rancid as a grown ass 37-year-old woman, it was like every positive emotion I ever had in high school came flooding back. I went
Mhm.
with one of my high school pals,
Yeah.
and we just had this moment, and then a bigger moment with everyone who like also loved Rancid. But it was
I
just like I can't go up to Tim Armstrong and be like,
no.
"Hey,"
I
like Lars is gonna remember who the fuck I am. No, he's not gonna remember who I am from 20 years ago because he didn't party super hard in Sacramento in the way that like we were partying. It was just like byproduct partying. So
so there's also something I think really interesting in the way that we grew up that I think kind of fell out of TV, where we got to watch a lot of musicians' lives because, like Travis
yeah,
Barker, I remember his show with his
keeping up with the
ex-wife,
Meet the Barkers.
Meet the Barkers,
Mm-hmm.
and the Ozzy Osbourne and the Osbournes, or VH1's Behind the
Behind the
Music.
yeah,
Like
MTV Cribs,
Cribs, we had such like an inside look of
Celebrity Road Rules.
right.
Oh, actually, I think that was actually what they deemed a celebrity from Road, who was originally on Road Rules,
Oh,
but
I don't know.
whatever.
But we had such like an inside look to their like personalities and like their lives and like
Uh
what they
huh.
liked and how they decorated their homes that you and I get this way with podcasting. Like I told Whitney Cummings and Benton Ray when I met them after one of her shows that I went to for my birthday, I was like, no, you don't get it. Like, I feel like we're friends and I love you. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I get that. I had somebody reach out to me who listens to my podcast, like 60 people. Yay. Which I'm super thrilled about. Don't
yes.
get me wrong. But like someone like started talking to me in the DMs, like I already knew them
Mhm.
because they already knew me.
Which is my goal. Like, it is my goal. Like, it is my goal for you to DM me and just like start chatting with me about your life because you already feel like we're friends.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and and I think music is such
I just want to note that like I wasn't judging that person doing
no.
that, but it was definitely like a surreal moment because I
Yeah.
have no idea who this person is and
Right.
their profile is private. So I can't even like figure it
But
out based on that.
try. It's just that there's such an intimacy to music because and there's an intimacy to all performing and all art. And I feel like it's so easy to give your heart over to
Mhm.
it. And then it's so much easier to also make assumptions about these people who wrote songs that you love.
Yeah.
Like, and then, so David, the day that David, you talked about celebrity deaths. I remember the exact moment I found out that David Bowie had died.
Oh, yeah.
I was in the shower and I used to listen to the Elvis Duran show in the shower while I was getting ready. And I heard David Cassidy. And then I went, I think David Cassidy's been dead for a little bit. And then
Is
they
he
were,
dead?
I don't know.
Okay.
Or maybe I thought, oh no, David Cassidy died
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the water's running. I have really
Yeah,
bad
yeah.
hearing. And
Garbled noise. Yeah.
garble. My speaker was probably shit. And I went, oh man, David Cassidy died. And then I had to muddle around like, is David Cassidy already dead? I don't know. No, it was
Yeah.
Davy Jones. That's what I heard.
Davy
Davy
Jones.
Jones. And Davy
Okay.
Jones, I think, is dead. I don't know. I'm gonna get fact checked.
We'll fact check. It's fine.
And so then I expected them to play Daydream Believer because they were like, we're gonna play his hit. And I had gotten out of the shower by then, and they started up Put On Your Shoes and Dance. And as soon
Oh,
as I heard Just Dance, I dropped. I
yeah.
I was wrapped up in a towel and I dropped and I held onto my sink because it all came rushing over me that David Bowie had
The
died.
reality of it.
And I was a teacher at the time. Like, I had to get my shit together and go to work because you have to go to work insanely early. And so I'm weeping. I didn't do my hair or makeup or anything. My friend who used to run drama club with me, he runs into me in the hall and he's like, the fuck is going on with you? And he didn't know. And I had to go, Bowie died.
Yeah.
And then now he's crying and I'm crying. And that's what he did to me when Prince died too. He told me while we were backstage at a rehearsal.
I was just going to say, I had a similar experience when Prince died. I'm at work. I was working at an assisted care facility at the time doing their marketing, and the somebody from the nursing staff, a manager from the nursing staff, we had gotten along really well. She came in and she's like, hey. And I was like, hi. And she's like, Prince died. And I was like, the fuck? Like, no, that's not possible. He's no. And then because we're managers, right? Like, so we're in charge. We were just like, okay, shut the door. They're going to have to fend for themselves.
Right.
Like, we can't function. I'm still sad. Like, it's still hard whenever anything comes up and I have to like, I don't know. It's hard. Like, what kind of music could he continue to be making? He was so young. You go through all the things and I know. Like, and he doesn't know that I appreciate him for all the ways that I appreciate him, but yet I'm devastated.
I even said out loud at some point, I was like, Bowie didn't even tell me that he was sick. Like, he was supposed to call or something.
He needed to make an announcement.
But like, over there, they are fiercely private. So of course no one knew that Bowie was sick. And I was like, Bowie didn't even tell us he was sick. Like, I didn't even get to prepare. And I mean, I had a student play Purple Rain the year that Prince died. For the talent show, and no one thought to warn me. And then I'm just weeping in my professional gymnasium because I'm like, and also warble crying, singing it. I'm like, Ray, Ray. A kindergartner is in my lap because the kindergarten was acting up for their teacher. So I just took it, put it in my lap, and I'm crying. And I was like, someone could have told me that was on the docket. The theme of the podcast is we are supposed to touch on male behaviors and how we've tolerated them. So talk to me about the patriarchy and misogyny when it comes to dating or even being close to the music industry.
Well, you're definitely not a priority. You're definitely second fiddle. You're expected to put up with it, the behaviors, the attitude. There's a lot of narcissism, and I don't know if it's true narcissism or if it's just the status that they're becoming getting to their head. And so there's just a lot of, you have to put yourself last. You can't care about you. There's no space for them to care about you. And it's just, with few exceptions, like not every single one. One of them I dated was actually very fabulous. I know this is the antithesis of what you asked. That's not the
theme of the podcast. We don't lift them up.
No, but I do have to share this story though, because I hate doing dishes. I don't have a dishwasher. And when he would pick me up for our dates, if I had dishes in the sink, he'd walk over there and wash the dishes. And then he'd be like, okay, we can go.
Is he one of the married ones?
No, he actually ghosted me.
Oh, damn. Well, this is me proposing to him. It's awkward.
But there were, like I've been, it's sitting around waiting to be picked up. There was a whole lot of like, and I should have put my foot down, right? Like, oh, you didn't pick me up when you said you were going to pick me up. So now I'm not going to go. No, I still would go. I would still put my tail between my legs and pile up into the car, or like the lack of honesty about what to expect from the event that we were going to, and pile into a car with 12 other people when you said it was just going to be the two of us, being ditched for to go because they got a gig last minute. And so why don't you understand that? Like, this is a huge opportunity for me. Yeah, I mean, cool. Like, I support you, but also we made plans and you didn't think to call me that they've changed. Like, that's a problem.
I think that's part of the toxic rhetoric of the like being in love with a musician where it's like, well, you can't come before the music.
Right.
And
Right.
then,
Which is really hard to swallow when
mhm,
you're part of being the muse.
yeah,
So like you're the muse, right? So you're the person who's inspiring these songs that their current wives know nothing about. But then when something happens, like you missed a phone call date, or which it happens. Like I get
mhm,
it. I did traveling theater. I understand how that works to an extent. But it's just the general lack of like, if our relationship's no longer a priority, you need to fucking tell me.
yeah. And
I've
that's
got
what it
better shit
comes
to do.
down to.
Because remember when I said I was the prettiest person in the room? I can go find somebody else, and you're
Right.
preventing me from doing that.
But yeah, I think, well, and it doesn't even, I mean, putting yourself second in your relationship is a huge theme that we talk about on this podcast, like
Mhm.
motherhood, dating narcissists, just like anytime I was made to feel like, well, I'm pretty sure I said I wanted Taco Bell, and here we've arrived at McDonald's. Like, just
Yeah.
a lot of that pops up on the podcast. We are now rounding out to an hour, and I know that you and I could talk for hours. So I'm going to
We
go
better
ahead.
wrap up.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and do our two traditions on To All the Men I've Tolerated Before, which is our growth moment and our
Mm,
manifestation. So when it comes to your biggest growth moment when dating musicians, what did you learn about yourself?
that I can't date musicians. It's not healthy. It's not good.
Yeah.
Is my like I it's fun to idolize and to
Hmm.
be romantic about when I think about nostalgia, about when I think about the past, but growth wise is there's a hard line. You play
Yeah.
an instrument? Okay, bye.
Okay. Bye.
The only exception to that is a piano player, because they
Oh,
seem to not be like
yeah.
they're
Yeah.
a little bit more stable.
I think my biggest lesson from idolizing musicians and deeply wanting them in my pants is
Not all
I
of them are good at that, by the
I
way.
know. I need to start approaching every relationship and every fantasy that comes my way with having the initial fun of the fantasy, like, ooh, look at him, tight leather pants and a guitar and
Hmm.
everything. And then actually stripping it away and being
Yeah.
like, I wonder what having a conversation with him would be like.
Yeah. Yeah. I will also say the bulk of them were Geminis.
Oh,
So now I'm like, danger. When someone's
danger.
like, when someone tells me their birthday and it falls, like the Gemini sign,
Mm-hmm.
I don't even I don't even know the cap for my sign.
Yeah.
The Gemini sign, I know the cap. I know the birth dates range because we're not going there.
We're not doing it. We're not doing Geminis.
This is
Uh,
a big time no, which is sucks because Chris Evans is a Gemini. So
oh,
my, celebrity crush can never come to fruition because he's a
damn it. So I think it's like it's moving past the fantasy because I was trying to tell this to my therapist how like sometimes I do believe that my life is a movie. Like we're all just living in a simulation and
Same girl. Mm-hmm.
and I'm the main character. I've moved past being the chubby best friend and I am now the main character. So when I see the guy in hot leather pants and blown out 80s hair and guy liner and I'm like, "Ooh, I bet you he
Just think of
loves."
just
Yeah.
think of Ross Geller when he's
Yep.
stuck in the bathroom and can't get his pants back up. Because that's
That's good.
more of the reality.
That's
Because they
the
can't take those pants off until the end of the night. Because if they do try, they'll have shrunk and they can't get them back up.
that's the antidote then. Then I have to like be all like, okay, and now think about what it would be like to make that person spaghetti. Like, do you I tomorrow you and I are going to talk about my breakup with Bachelor Nation
Yeah, I'm
and
excited.
one of the reasons I broke up with Bachelor Nation is because my younger girlfriends would fawn over these meatheads and I'd be like, think about what it would be like to have dinner with him.
Yeah.
There are only so many protein powders and I don't want to hear about more than one of them. Like,
Yeah, and you can only have so many conversations about superficial shit. Like you
right.
need more than that. And that's the thing that's scary about musicians is they
Mm-hmm.
can present as very deep and cerebral or intellectual. Some of them it's just a presentation. It's not true, but it's easy to get like sucked into because you're just like, "Oh my god, he's so deep." And then 2 months later like, "The fuck.
What would you manifest and wish some positivity on? It could be any of the musicians that you've dated, any of the musicians out there, or any person who's thinking about dating a musician. It's got to be positive, though. Look at your face. You're like, well, I just want to talk shit some more.
I would say I don't know. That's a hard one. I hope you have a Johnny Cash relationship, John and June relationship. Because at the end of the day, that, they were so in love with each other.
I do love that. I think she used to be the lead singer of one of my favorite country bands, Trick Pony, and she sings that song, I Want to Love Like Johnny and June.
Yeah.
Rains of Fire, Falling with You. Oh, God.
I will say, yeah, like, I think that is the ideal, but go into it knowing that it's not always true.
Yeah.
I couldn't be totally positive.
I think my manifestation when it comes to the musicians that are out there waiting for me to date them, is that I really hope that once I can put the hero worship aside, I do get more chances to get to know the people who have the talents that I so admire. Yeah. So just like getting to have really deep conversations with musicians and where their songs come from or how they started out or things like that, and moving past the I'm trying to throw my training bra onto the stage and my mom's like, no,
this is not how we lose Natalie today.
This is not how we lose Natalie today. I almost got on Bret Michaels' party bus.
I know, you told me. I love that story.
I almost got on Bret Michaels' tour bus. Yeah. And my mom was like, that's not how I'm losing you today, because I would have never came back.
What's funny about you having told me that story is that 2 nights before you told me that story, I had a dream about getting stuck at a rest stop. And then then I ended up being like, finding a tour bus that I could hitch a ride to catch up with my tour group. And then 2 days later, you tell me the story and I'm just like,
we're so connected.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's what it is. I want to move past my like immediate like rush of hormones, like, oh, I love you and I'm going to hero worship you. And I don't care that you have flaws, and actually get to know musicians as people. First, I would have to meet more musicians. So hit me up, but
come to California. We'll hit up some shows.
I need to.
Yeah. There's a lot of good places to go see.
Yeah.
Music.
I think that's what I'm starting to realize too. Like, I have to be where the people are.
Yeah. If you're going to manifest having a relationship with a musician, it's not going to happen in Cincinnati. Well, actually, I know a couple musicians in Cincinnati.
Yeah. I mean, we have a music scene. I think it gets, and it could be the music scene anywhere, but I think it's very cliquey is what I get. Yeah,
I feel like every genre is like that for the music industry. Like, you could definitely tell when like somebody was new to that particular genre, because you're just like, but yeah, I like your manifestation. I also want to jump on that manifestation. I am done dating musicians.
That's fine. But maybe you could get to know them.
Yeah. Like I said, only 3 were terrible people. And there's 2 that I actually am really sad that those relationships ended, because I think one of them was my soulmate and the other one did my dishes.
But do you know what I've realized about the man that I thought was my soulmate? And I often refer to him as my only shot at marriage. They were my only shot of marriage at the time, but I chose the better variant.
Yeah. See? Oh, I like that.
See, I got to be the better variant.
Yeah, I like that. I dig.
Thank you. Tom Hiddleston, feel free to reach out and confirm that I chose the better variant.
Yeah, he's so cute.
Or Owen Wilson, I Loved You and Marry Me. It's a
oh my God, movie. Yes.
It's a perfect movie. So good. But tell the tolerators where they can find you.
Yes. Hey, friends, you can find me on Instagram. My podcast is called At Pop Culture well, it's not at, but on Instagram, do the @ sign. Pop Culture Makes Me Jealous. I'm also on Instagram as myself, the Julia Washington, THE Julia Washington. And it is a whole lot of shenanigans of like, the fuck am I doing with my life? Plus book reviews. It's great. And then the podcast, we cover pop culture through the lens of race or gender, and sometimes both.
Yep. which is fantastic. Thank you so much for giving me part of your afternoon.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
Thank you so much for being a new friend.
Thank you for being willing to be a new friend and
No.
inviting me on your show.
I love being friends. And my whole B plot to this podcast is I'm going to make friends with every creative that ever existed on Instagram.
You know what? I'm way better at long distance relationships than I am distance or local. So this is perfect.
Me too. I love texting.
Yeah.
I love texting. But tolerators, you know what to do. You're going to follow us at Men I've Tolerated Pod. You're going to follow me at Natalie K124. You're definitely going to do that on TikTok. If you're not on the Instagram, how are you going to find the link tree on how to email me? And how will you find the special access link to get to the live show on Fireside? I'm going to somehow arrange to have 2 calendars because Julia has expressed being interested on being on the live stream.
It's true.
And remember, tolerators, you don't have to smile through anything that you're tolerating, especially a man who can work a crowd at midnight, but can't adhere to a lunch plan. Smiles are for joy.